Broadcasting live from somewhere in the great upper Midwest and beaming directly to you worldwide. This is Night Talks Radio.
Hi, let's go. Woo!
Alright, let's take a look at our weather forecast today.
Today's forecast, a lot of sunshine, blue skies, marine clouds. Just a perfect day to go outside and relax. That's your forecast. We'll be right back.
Yeah, sunny days, sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, about to get away. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break. Sunny day, make way. All the stress and doubt, yeah, not today. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break. Got the Tropicana, fresh cut sushi on a platter. Ready, honey, it don't matter shots. Till I drop, gonna be 24/7, golden hour like a boss. And they say, yo, guess you got a 2 o'clock appointment for a champagne shot, whoa, yeah. I'm busy trying to take it higher, got no time for never, only spending cheddar. Wish I could do this forever. Chilling with the hottest company, they all wanna welcome me to their private penthouse suite. Yeah, now I got the key. Rooftop pool, got a heli on speed. Ocean view from the highest peak. I'm complete, oh, I want this to stay. Please don't go away. Yeah, sunny day, sunny day, sunny day.
Streaming to you live from Spreaker.com and somewhere deep in the great upper Midwest. If you're ready for a ride, you can call NTR anytime by dialing the nationwide caller line at 1-507-384-9390. First-time callers can reach Night Talks Radio at 1-507-307-4424. Text Daniel and NTR exclusively at 1-218-689-7126. Now, from somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's your hosts, Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Only positivity to this party, don't want no drama with any back karma. Got a lot of that in La Vida Loca, just wanna let it all go. Yeah, I can't say no when I'm this free. Don't wanna go home, oh I can't sleep. Weather's so nice, only got good vibes. Yeah, we here chillin' in paradise. Sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, about to get away. Feels like it's been
A sunny day. A sunny day? Well, I don't think so, my friend. I think it's a moony night with the moon shining bright over Red Lake Falls, Minnesota on a gorgeous Saturday evening in the great upper Midwest. And, of course, coast to coast and nationwide, around the world online. This is another edition of Night Talks Radio. And before we begin tonight, let's welcome, as always, our beautiful and wonderful co-host, Jennifer Gregerson. Are you there, Jennifer?
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here, as always. Another great show in the works tonight.
Well, you certainly got that right, my bestie and co-host. And, of course, the reason being is that we have special guest Joe Chase back for episode 2, or part 2, however you would like to say it. Last weekend, last Saturday, was astounding with information that was completely mind-blowing. And tonight, we will finish that conversation, that mind-boggling conversation that was Joe Chase and one man's journey. There's really not much more to say about Joe himself, as you already know from last Saturday's show, that he had an experience, and he is coming forth on Night Talks Radio with that experience. in hopes to not only free himself from the burden of holding this experience within, but hopefully to open the eyes of many, many, many others out there with experiences such as Joe's and are simply afraid to come forth and tell their incredible stories. Night Talks Radio is a platform where you can do such a thing as Joe has discovered. We want you to come to us, and you can speak the truth on what happened, whether it be a sighting or encounter or something incredible, to say the very least. So intriguing that you simply cannot tell anyone else. Well, folks, I assure you here at NTR, you can tell your story. And not only will I and Jennifer listen, but the many, many listeners and fans out there will listen as well. Here at NTR, this is a judgment-free zone. And always shall be. Folks, I want to get right to it. Joe Chase is coming up, part 2 of One Man's Journey. And quickly on NTR New Music Now, we have special guest artists all the way from the United Kingdom, Emma and Jolie, with their hit single, All That Glitters. So, folks, sit back once again, grab your favorite beverage, lean back in that lazy boy, turn your radio or streaming device up just a tad, and get ready for some amazing stuff coming from Joe Chase. This is going to be a great episode, folks. I promise you. Part 2 of One Man's Journey is due up next, right here on Night Talks Radio. We'll be right back.
Straight out of her comfort zone, yeah. Daddy, mama got it going on. Actions of explicit content, yeah. Doing what we wanna all night long. Video from red button, kids are gone, lights are on, lights are on now. Party in the box. Party in the box. Night is young, we are not feeling something. Feeling us too, just like rhythm and blues. Feeling us too, just like rhythm and blues. Straight out of her comfort zone, yeah. Daddy, mama got it going on.
My friend.
Yeah, I'm here, Daniel. How are you, brother?
I am doing good. How has it been going for you since we talked last?
Not too bad. Holding it down, holding the fort.
Yeah.
Trying to, stay positive, trying to keep those positive vibes going.
Oh, yeah, I hear exactly what you're talking about. I do that on a daily basis. So, where did we leave off last time? It's the thing that I'm trying to figure. We were talking about so much stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot about the contact itself and the nature of it.
Okay.
I had talked about actually seeing, summoning these beings in the sky. I remember I had gotten to that part, and I had mentioned actually where we left off. I said I would mention about the pyramids as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear about the pyramids. That's for sure.
Well, it's kind of irrelevant information, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It doesn't really apply to us. Like, I could tell you about it. It was just out of my own curiosity.
I see.
So when I was in contact with these beings, and I asked them about, what are the pyramids, just out of my own curiosity. And imagine, so if we're going through life cycles on Earth, right, there's a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
Imagine that as a race of people that were started on the Earth before in a previous civilization.
Okay.
And what I had received when I asked them about the pyramids is they showed me, and they let me know it was to change frequencies. And what the vision was that they showed me was like hundreds of thousands of people sitting on and all around the pyramids. And basically these people were giving their energy to the pyramid. And the pyramid was taking in the energy.
Okay.
And it was funneling it up through the pyramid. And they gave me this awareness of how it works. It was like through sound resonance.
Okay.
Up through the pyramid anyways. And the pyramid, in the vision, the pyramid had this blue beam of light coming out the top, this blue energy beam.
Coming out of the top.
And, yeah,
Okay.
and the blue energy beams would go up, and they would spread across the top of our atmosphere, much like the aurora borealis.
Okay, got you, understood.
Except it was in blue. And it's like all the pyramids would start doing it.
Really?
So, yeah, and what was kind of cool about that is I told Jose the next day about the pyramids. And, I feel so bad for my friend because I was like sharing everything from the night before, like all during this experience. And it was about a week or 2 weeks after I told him about the pyramids. He got in the truck one day for work and he looks at me, he goes, "Okay, man, you're freaking me out." I said, "Why?" And he shows me a picture of a pyramid with a blue beam coming out of the top of it.
Oh,
Wow.
good Lord.
And he goes, like, he said they just discovered this over in, I believe it was the one in the former Yugoslavia.
Okay.
So there's a huge pyramid there, and somebody at this pyramid observed an energy beam about a meter wide coming from the top of it. So what he showed me wasn't an actual picture of that, but it was like just a picture of something somebody made up. Somebody photoshopped
Right, like a
picture of a
drawing
pyramid
or a
with the blue
graphic.
beam coming out. But he's looking at me and he's like, "How did you know?" And I'm laughing at him. I'm telling him, I'm going, "Jose, they're telling me all this stuff, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of like a funny little anecdote, like about the pyramids. Like that's kind of what they were, but they weren't ours per se, unless previous civilizations were an offbreed of humans.
Huh.
I mean, that's still incredibly interesting, regardless.
So were they using the pyramids as electricity in a way to like light up their town and stuff?
I don't think. Well, let's see what Joseph says.
It was more of an energy. If you were to research, now this is kind of what they through synchronicities, because
Okay.
I was wondering how they worked, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So something came into my line of view, and it was talking about this round metal ball, and they call it the Betz sphere, BETZ. Now,
Yeah.
this was found on somebody's farm back in the 70s,
Now,
and it's just like about
Oh,
an eight
yeah.
inch
I
round
do
metal
recall
ball.
that. I do
So-
recall
so-
that.
Okay, so apparently, if you were to take a ball like that
Yeah.
and put it and go into the king's chamber, what they call the king's chamber, and there's a sarcophagus in there, and if you were to place that ball in there and you start feeding the pyramid energy, that ball is going to start resonating at, I believe, it was a 932 hertz was
Wow.
what they told me.
wow.
And the frequency goes up, and above the king's chamber, there's these granite slabs, and the slabs are all separated. And as the frequency is going up, it begins a sound resonation through those slabs of granite, and like the whole pyramid vibrates or something to that effect is was how they were working stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like I found it
Okay.
interesting. I found it interesting for my own curiosity. But
That
I find
definitely
it
piques
kind of-
mine.
Yeah. So, Joseph, about these silver spheres that you have seen, are they kind of like, in a way, do they have almost like little, like 3 little holes to it or whatever, almost like a bowling ball? Kind
Yeah,
of
I was
look?
going to say, do they resemble a bowling ball?
No, the Betz sphere one. So that's the only one that I've seen in a video. I've never seen one in person.
Oh,
gotcha.
okay.
The Betz sphere. The story goes with that is it was found on a farm in the 70s, and it was just a solid metal ball with no seams or anything. And the son of the farm, he had found it in the field after there was a fire. They suspect that this ball may have caused the fire, but he found this ball, and a couple of weeks later, I think the story goes he was playing his guitar, and the ball started moving on its own, responding to the sound. Like you could check that out. It's called the Betz sphere, and
Okay.
they sent it off for analogy, and they got it back, and nobody could figure out what it was. And then, of course, the military came in because they wanted to see it, and they took it, and that was the last of the Betz sphere,
it.
right?
That's the ball game. As
Yep.
soon as they get involved, gimme.
It's gone. You'll never to be
But-
seen again.
Yeah, but that was an interesting story. Like, apparently this ball, if it was sitting on a coffee table, had the ability to roll to the edge and stop on its own. Like, it knew the edge was there.
Wow, very
Right.
intelligent.
So, like wow, that's crazy. It had the ability to know, wow, I'm not going to go past this because I'll fall.
So like this ball could have very well been part of an alien craft. Is that correct?
It could have been. Who knows? I was kind of led to believe the way it kind of aligned with my asking about the pyramids is that it was a ball like that was causing the frequency change in the pyramid, that ball started vibrating or causing a sound resonance in the pyramid.
Wow, that's really strange because I've had a dream exactly like that, except these balls, there's like 3 of them that come down and they can hold up to 12 people. And they take 12 people at a time back to wherever they come from. And then there's another ball that comes down and takes another 12 people, and that's how, they get them off of Earth.
Well, let me put it this way, Joe. What she's trying to talk about is when you mentioned there was just some keywords there, farm, these balls that you're describing, things of that nature. She literally described those type of things
in a dream
that she had in a dream about 4 to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I found it so intriguing, I was going to help write a book with her about it. And again, this goes back to the connection that I believe we have as far as, these type of things happening. It's amazing that you just brought that up because it's almost to a T what she was describing to me, minus the pyramids.
Yep. And now, Joseph, have they ever mentioned anything about a galactic stone or anything like that?
Oh, sorry, a galactic what?
A galactic stone?
No.
No.
They haven't mentioned anything about a stone that you need to find or anything like that to be safe?
No, but during the whole process, okay, so this was very weird.
Okay.
There's a place here in Ontario, Canada,
Okay.
and for whatever reason, Spirit was guiding me somewhere, like to go somewhere, and there's a place I was guided to. It's called Dreamer's Rock. Here in
Dreamer's Rock.
Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah, so what this is, it's called a place of visions and dreams, and it's up in Manitoulin Island here in Ontario.
Okay.
And it's a part of, it belongs to the Ojibwe tribe.
Okay.
So the Dreamer's Rock was used for a rite of passage. I don't know if they still do it. So like in the States, you've heard of like them having a peyote quest. For visions to get.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so up here, what they would do is they would, at a young age, the youth would go and sit on Dreamer's Rock, and they would be up there for days, right, fasting until they received the vision.
Ah.
So I was called up to this Spirit Rock, this Dreamer's Rock. I had no idea where I was going, right? I got up one morning, and I was just like, I'm going to Manitoulin. Right, and I went on this adventure.
Just hit you, like, I gotta go.
Yeah, and it was the coolest adventure. I went on it by myself. I drive all the way up there, and I finally find the place, and there's a gate across it, and it's closed until Monday. I'm up there on a Saturday now at 5:30 in the afternoon. It was a 5.5-hour drive for me to get there.
Oh, no.
And,
ouch.
Yeah, so I turn around, and I'm like, okay, something's calling me to this rock. I have to go, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me go down to the reserve and see if I can find an elder or somebody who could give me permission, because this is sacred ground. This is their ceremonial ground.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't just...
You don't want to...
So I go back down to the reservation, and I'm driving all up and down the streets. I don't see a soul. One of the last streets I went on, I see a young man... and again, now is this synchronicity or a coincidence?
Right.
I see a young man out in his yard, and I pulled in, and I asked him where I could find an elder, and he asked me why. And when I told him, he took off running. He said, just a minute, and he ran into the next door neighbor's house, and now 2 young men come running out. And the second one, he comes up to me, and he's going, what's going on? So I explained this quest that I'm on, that I'm being summoned by Spirit to go to Dreamer's Rock, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It just happened, he is the chief's nephew.
Wow.
Of all people to bump into.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? I'm at, yeah, like of all the yards to pull into, I'm pulling into the chief's sister's yard. So, anyways, I drive this young man, William, down to the chief's house. The chief wasn't home. He actually writes me a handwritten note. And he wrote something in Native. I don't know what it was.
Okay.
But he wrote, he just said, this is for a guest to Dreamer's Rock, and he wrote something in Native, purposes. And he put his name and phone number, and he gave it to me. He said, if anybody bothers you or asks you, just show them this and have them call me, right? You have permission to go in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like he was really alarmed. He's like, listen, if the spirits are calling you, you have to go there.
Yep.
And it was a very enlightening experience. I go in, I walk, it's about a kilometer down this dirt road to the ceremonial ground, and then this mountain is behind it. So I managed to find the path. I make my way up this mountain, and I'm sitting up there, just the most beautiful view. I sat there and watched the most beautiful sunset, right? But the whole thing is, the whole top of this mountain is, and going back to what you had said, Jennifer, about a rock,
Yep.
The whole top of this mountain is made out of white quartz,
Wow.
Wow.
which is a highly conductive energy conductor.
That
Yep.
is very true.
Right?
Yes.
And it's on that hill that night I realized it was this self-awareness with the oneness of all that is. And it was a very enlightening experience. Just it's like I was sitting there taking in the beauty of everything. And I had this realization that, wait a minute, I'm part of all of this.
Right, right.
Even though I'm sitting here on this mountain by myself, I'm not separate. I'm still a part of everything, and we
Yeah.
all are.
Yeah,
That's
you know what?
very interesting.
I hate to bring it up. I mean, because it almost sounds a little tacky, but it's almost like Star Wars and the Force. You're one with everything.
Yeah.
You can feel and sense everything around you.
Right, right.
You know?
So, with the interesting thing about this stone that I was told to find is they call it the galactic stone, but then they also have another name for it called the white Arctic stone. So I think that's really interesting because you said it was white quartz.
Yes, I could actually send you some pictures of that place.
Wow.
Yeah, do
that would be awesome.
Do that. I can throw that up on NTR Facebook.
Now, Joseph,
Yeah.
just real quick here.
Yeah.
One quick question is, do you have any native in your blood or your family?
Yes,
You do.
yes, it goes back 5 generations. My ancestry goes to a German settler
Okay.
that came here and married a native woman from the Manatee tribe in New Brunswick.
Okay.
Not far from where I was born in New Brunswick.
Okay.
So there is native blood in me from 5 generations ago.
Oh, wow. See, that could very well be why you have a lot of these visions, too, because natives are very strong in visions, and the interesting thing is I'm a Ojibwe, so, the same thing happens to me. So I believe that it's all connected with possibly your ancestry, maybe not so much when we talked before about you having, like, spiritual part of your ancestry, but the actual native part, I think, is another connection.
Absolutely, I totally agree, because I've always seen the Native Americans as being some of the most spiritual people in the world.
Yeah.
As far as being connected with spirit,
That's
and having communications with, honoring their elders and their ancestors, and these kind of traditions. Like, they're very spiritual people. Like, we all are. You have to tap into it.
Right, exactly. And, being from where we're at here in Red Lake Falls, we're virtually surrounded by Indian reserves and reservations and whatnot. And, I have some Indian friends. And, it's what you speak of is absolutely true, very spiritual and things of that nature. And have actually taught me quite a few things, and it's a very interesting culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And and again, I always since this awakening,
Yes.
like it really made me start connecting all the dots, because what were all the Aboriginals around the world saying for the longest time is we were put here, we were created by these star people that came down, right?
Yes.
And these are some of the oldest teachings, and then getting back to the experience.
Yeah.
Just to finish up on the experience itself. So I had mentioned that I had summoned them in the way I had said that guy, Prophet Yahweh, had done it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time, I always seen it at night, and the first time it was like a single flash in the sky, like a camera flash going off.
Okay.
And at this point, I had been kind of connecting the dots because up to this point, I was like, I'm speaking to God and I'm speaking to angels. But I had started connecting the dots. Are the two the same? So that first night was my confirmation from them because they showed themselves to me.
Understood.
Right? And then I did it a couple more times after that by myself. And each other time, I was in communication with them. So they would flash, and then I would keep looking up, and I would ask them to flash again, and boom, they would flash again, right? So the further sightings were multiple flashes.
Wow.
Then it got interesting. My oldest brother was here for the weekend one night, and he had heard me talking about this stuff and this experience that I'm going through. Well, we went out back on my deck, and I asked him, I said, do you want to see them? And he's kind of like half believing, but still hesitant, and he's kind of like a little smirkish kind of laugh.
Yeah,
like, yeah, sure,
yeah. Almost like most people's reactions, I would imagine.
So I told him, I said, okay, well, I have to put you in the right state of consciousness. I said, so just, close your eyes and play along with this, but just really try to do what I'm saying, right? So he goes, okay, let's do it. So he actually did it, and I guided him into a certain state of consciousness, and we both called out to them.
Okay.
And the way we were sitting at the table, so I was facing west, he's facing south. And I told him, I said, okay, you look at this part of the sky, I'm going to look over here. And I told him, just keep repeating in your mind, focus like in a daydream on that spot, and just keep repeating in your mind, this is where I'm at, please come to this location. So we sat there maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and in between us in the sky, would have been in the southwest, I thought I seen a flash out of my peripheral.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure. So he never said anything about it. So I just kind of focused back to where I was focusing. And I said to them, I said, I think I just saw you. Could you confirm? Can you flash again? And it flashed again. And this time I was waiting for it. So I followed it right to where it was.
Wow.
And at this point, I knew they were there. So I told my older brother, I said, okay, I said, you see the couple stars, I'm pointing to them, right? I'm saying, you see the couple stars and there's one down underneath it to the right. I said, in the space just above it, right? Above that single star. I said, see how it's all dark? He goes, yeah. I said, don't take your eyes off of there. Don't blink, nothing for a minute. He goes, okay. So I focused back to where I was focusing. I asked him to flash again, and I seen it in my peripheral. And I asked him, I said, did you see it? And he's looking at me. He's going, you're damn right I seen it. And I said, where was it? He goes, it's right in that dark spot, exactly where you said it was.
So you were communicating with these things?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I was communicating. I was asking them to flash, like, light up their ship.
That is amazing.
So my brother was sitting there, and he's like, now the smirk's gone off his face. He doesn't know what. Right? So he's going, okay, well, this is pretty cool. He goes, get them to do it again. So sure enough, boom, they flashed again. At this point now, he's just sitting there. He can't believe what he's seeing. And we sat there. We had probably a good 10-minute conversation. And I told him, I said, okay, now just to confirm, would a helicopter, an airplane, a satellite, anything still be sitting up there after this time? He's going, no. I said, okay, so let's see if they're still there. And I asked them to flash again. They flashed again. I thanked them for showing their presence and said goodnight to them. And I looked at my brother and I said, so what do you think now? His exact words to me, he goes, listen, he goes, you've been telling people that you've been in contact with something. These beings, God, and they're telling you to gather people together.
Right.
He said, you just gathered one. He's going, because I'll tell you, there's nobody in this world is ever going to convince me I did not just see what I just saw with my own eyes.
How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel deep down?
You know what? It made me feel less crazy.
Well,
because now I
right.
have somebody witnessing it with me, witnessing the experience.
True. Yeah, you had people around you.
Yeah, because at that point, like, I can talk about that stuff too. Beliefs limit our perception. And I'll
correct.
talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, so that happened then. I seen them maybe once or twice after that. And then I got brave. And I was asking them, I said, I want to see the beings on the ship. And their response to me was,
Joe, at any point, were you afraid at any point?
Okay, that's coming.
Okay, that's coming.
At this point, absolutely not. At this point, I'm still... when I said I received that first overwhelming feeling of blissfulness, that feeling stayed with me for about a year.
Okay.
Right? Like, that feeling was still very much in me, and I had no fear. But when I started asking them, I said, I want to meet you. Their response was, you're not ready.
They told you that you're not ready.
Yes. And,
wow.
and me being me, I start arguing with these beings.
So you're having an interstellar argument, essentially.
Yes. And
okay.
My logic to them is, I'm telling them, I'm like, listen, I'm communicating with you via telepathy,
right?
Which is unreal. This is surreal in itself.
It is.
You in the sky. You confirmed your presence to me. So now I see you up there, and I'm communicating with you. I want to meet you. I think I am ready. And they just kept telling me, you're not ready. You're not ready.
You're not ready.
And I kept this argument. I kept this argument for a couple of days. I kept asking them that, and they kept replying that.
Huh.
And perhaps about a week after that, I was in my backyard late at night by myself, and I was just doing some meditating and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And this was the weirdest experience. Now, I can't say it was them, and I won't say that because I didn't see them, but I will tell about the experience. Right? I want to make that clear.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha.
Right behind my house, like past my backyard, my back fence, there's a set of train tracks. And on the other side, there's another subdivision.
Okay.
Right? So I have a train runs right down behind my house. So I'm sitting there, and like, it's dead quiet. You can hear the crickets chirping. That's all you're hearing. And I could hear something moving to the south of me on the train tracks. And I'm thinking, who's out here walking this late at night?
Yeah, right.
This is probably about 12:30 at night or something. I just watched a movie or something.
Or maybe Bigfoot.
And I just went out back.
One of those.
Now, as I'm sitting there, it's like I could hear, it sounded like a couple of people walking is what it sounded like. And I was thinking teenagers out raiding gardens or looking through people's backyards.
Yeah,
so
normal
I
stuff.
just kind of like, that's exactly where my thought of it went. And I just thought, I'm just going to sit here quiet. I'm going to see if anybody's creeping around the backyard.
Right.
So all of a sudden, 2 doors down from me to the south, they have a big dog. It started barking. And a little dog from the houses across the tracks, a little dog started barking. So I can hear these 2 dogs barking.
So something was up.
Well, this is what happened, and it was so freaky. You know how dogs will bark in a sequence? Like, it might be 3 or 4 barks, and then they'll take a breath, and then they'll repeat those 3 or 4 barks.
Yes.
So this is what the dogs are doing. They're both sitting there yapping. All of a sudden, both of them stopped barking instantly.
Ooh.
And the atmosphere, if I were Spidey Man, right, I would have got my Spidey senses tingling, right? Because everything just kind of shifted. The energy and everything just kind of shifted. And I was like on this heightened awareness. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is weird. This is a very weird, creepy feeling.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I started hearing this whispering voice just saying, stay calm and just relax.
Wow.
Now, at this point, I'm sitting there and I'm asking them, I said, are you here? And again, they're saying, just relax. So I'm sitting there and it's like, dude, I'm nervous. I'm not even going to lie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm in this, I'm in a vulnerable situation here. And I heard these bushes moving behind, right behind me. So I'm sitting basically facing west, right? So east is behind me. That's where the back fence is. Right behind me, though, there's a little pool house. Behind the pool house, there's some grass, and then there's bushes up around the fence.
Okay.
And then there's a swimming pool. So away from the pool house, like heading north, there's like a pool deck and stuff. But
Right.
I heard something move in the bushes. Then I heard it sounded like footsteps on the grass behind my pool house. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm nervous. Like, and another weird feeling that I had was it felt like something began monitoring me.
Wow.
Monitor, like watching you.
Well, it was almost like it was monitoring me, my central nervous system.
Wow.
Like it felt like something was like monitoring my inside.
Like your
And they
vitals
kept telling me
and things?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it kept telling me to just stay calm and stay relaxed. Well, when I heard the footsteps move from the grass from behind the pool house out onto the pool deck, dude, my heart hit my throat. I whipped around to my left so fast, like I like whipped around because whatever was there, I wanted to see it.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I didn't see any. I didn't see anything. That's the weird part. But then I heard. Check this out. I hear a scream. Now, I grew up in the country. I'm familiar with animal sounds.
Yeah.
I cannot describe this. The best
Wow.
to describe it would be like a woman's scream, a high-pitched scream, mixed with a whistle. So if you took a whistle and blew it at the same time a woman is screaming, that's what the sound was. And whatever it was close to me, like damn close to me. It was right in front of me. And so where I'm sitting, I'm only about maybe 3 feet away from a chain link fence to my neighbor. On the other side of the neighbor's property, there's a private fence because those people also have a swimming pool.
Okay.
And there's a private wooden fence. When I heard this scream, I started turning back to the right, and whatever was there, I heard it move across my neighbor's lawn. And it strided about 40 feet. I heard about 3 or 4 steps. It was just like a swish, 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 swish across the lawn.
Right.
I'd seen the grass move, and whatever was there, I couldn't see it, but it was distorting the light in the cracks of the private fence on the other side of the yard. So as it moved across the yard, then I heard rustling in the bushes again, and then about maybe 10 seconds later or 15 seconds later, that creepy, eerie feeling kind of left, and the dog started barking again.
So
And at that,
oh, go ahead.
I'll bet I was near a heart attack. I'm not even lying. It scared the crap out of me.
Oh, that would scare
And
I would be scared to death. My God.
I came inside. I came inside. I meditated, and I basically gave them shit. And I told them, I said, listen, if that was you that just came, okay, if it wasn't you that I'm communicating with, something was just here with me.
Right.
Right? And I'm telling them, I'm saying, if it was you, why would you not allow me to see you?
Exactly. And why would you spook me out like that?
Well, what I said is, I'm unsure of your intentions.
Right. Yeah. What's going on exactly?
Maybe they were testing you.
Needless to say, after that, I stopped trying to communicate with them.
Oh, did you? Wow.
It scared me that bad, and it wasn't until probably months later when I'm still trying to process the whole thing.
Right.
I started calming down about it because I was realizing, well, wait a minute, I was vulnerable, and if they wanted to hurt me, they could have easily.
They could have easily, absolutely.
So I
But
was
the
like,
thing is,
they
you
told
don't know
me-
if it was them. That's
Right.
the problem.
Now, Joseph, one thing is,
Yeah.
when the dogs stopped barking and everything like that, did it seem like time stood still?
Yes, that's a good explanation for it. It seemed very surreal. Like I say, if I were Spider-Man, I would have said my spidey senses tingling. Like everything, just all my senses, it's like they heightened and
Yeah,
told.
I know what you mean exactly. I get
Wow.
goosebumps when things like that happen.
Yep.
That's how I know something odd is around me or something strange might be happening around me. You still there, Joe? Oh, no. Did we lose Joe again?
Oh, there he is.
No. Oh, there he is. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Joe? Joe?
Yes, I apologize.
Well, it was
I don't
kind of
know.
funny because we were talking about that situation, and I'm like, well, they didn't want us to talk about that no more.
No.
But go ahead.
But yeah, that's a good explanation, Jennifer. It's like almost like time stood still for a moment or something. Like everything got very surreal, and I could feel the energy shifting all around me. Like it became
God,
very surreal. Like
that freaks me out just hearing about it.
Wow. Now, Joseph, one other thing is, you said that you meditated in college, okay? There's many different ways to meditate. But when Jose had suggested you to actually go ahead and try and contact them, do you think that maybe Jose might have some kind of energy field that might be helping you with
I
this?
got a question about Jose, but go ahead and answer that.
again, I would think those are synchronicity.
Uh-huh.
So let me explain. So, from my understanding of dimensions and how they all work,
Okay.
what you two have already commented on, you're very accurate. We are all connected. I was able to see that connection and understand it.
Okay.
So we are all connected through the same consciousness, right? It's our
Right.
cognitive minds that are different, that
Exactly.
allows us to have different thoughts. But behind the scenes, we're all coming from the same source of consciousness,
Yep.
right? So that connection that we all have allows for these synchronicities. So I could say it's a coincidence that Jose told me to call out to them,
Right.
or maybe it was at a time where, like, was it a coincidence that Jose and I got teamed up to work together?
Right.
That
Yep.
okay? You're
Yep.
going in the
Both of us.
direction. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Both of us being interested in ufology,
Yeah.
right? All the conversations him and I had up to this point, was that all coincidence?
Right.
That is exactly what I wanted to ask.
And then-
It feels like
Where-
Jose was maybe put in place.
Right. Maybe a guide.
That's right. So that's kind of the way I look at it as well.
Okay.
Now that I know of these connections, it's like were they communicating with Jose without even him knowing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But they kind of summoned me through Jose. Like they said, okay, we want to talk to Joseph now, but he has to come to us willingly. So let's orchestrate it. Right? Let's guide it in that direction.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Understood. Now.
And something like I've noticed too of my own observation, because people have said, why you? Like, why do you think they contacted you? An observation I've made is the state, when I contacted them, it was a selfless act, right? And I think that has a lot to do with it, because I was asking them something genuinely, a genuine concern for all of us, for all of humanity. It wasn't about myself,
Right.
right? It was like, what could all of us do if we were all like in danger or something were to happen? Is there anything that humanity could do? And it was,
You have true care.
it,
Yep.
Yes, so I was coming from a place of a true intention, like a pure intention, and my heart was being pure. Look, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
has a lot to do with it. But again, the whole conversation between Jose and I, was it to guide me into that selfless act? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? These are questions I ask myself, but I have noticed, because trust me, I don't think anybody has analyzed this experience as much in depth as what I have.
Right. Now, Joseph, when you meditate, like I said, there are different forms that you can use for meditation. Do you use some kind of a chant before you meditate, or do you use crystals, or do you just listen to music and just meditate, like get in your zen?
No, I'll tell you my method.
Okay.
Is when I sit down to meditate, first thing I do is you quiet the mind.
Yep.
And you do this by focusing on breathing. And to focus on breathing, I'm kind of examining the action of the breath. So
Okay.
I'm paying attention. I'm allowing my conscious mind to be consciously aware of the lungs expanding and contracting, right? The air that's moving in and out. Even examining the little pauses between exhaling and inhaling, because there's these little pauses in there.
Right.
So I just examine all aspects of the breath, and I kind of listen to the breath until all thoughts of the world are out of my mind, right? And I reach this place of quiet. When I get there, it's almost like I'm in a daydream state. I mean, my eyes are closed, but my eyes are straight forward.
Okay.
And I pick a point in front of me, and it's I imagine it like a little dot of energy.
Okay.
Oh,
Like
okay.
one little pinpoint. And then using my willpower, using consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
you begin to make that little dot of energy start growing in its size. It's like you're drawing other energy to it,
Okay.
if it makes sense. And
Yeah.
until
Yes.
I
Oh,
form
yeah,
like
that
a
makes
little,
sense. Yes.
so until I form like a little ball. So I'm sitting there and I'm seeing this little ball of energy. And like with my eyes closed, so this is all internal. Then what I do is, your point of focus would be kind of right off the tip of your nose, right in front of you.
Okay.
Would kind of be your this is where your focus is at.
Right.
Well, I focus on the ball, I grab the ball with my mind, and I make it move. And I raise it up and towards me, and it hits my forehead at the third eye.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, when it hits, it's like my focus is now traveling with the ball. So once the ball hits me, my focus inverts. And I follow the ball still down the chakras and stop at the heart. So when I reach that point, I'm perceiving reality from the place of the heart. So there's nothing existing outside of my body. The
Right.
skin of my body is the outer wall of this inner self,
I see.
right? And everything, there's nothing outside whatsoever. It's like just a void,
So do you?
right? And then
Oh, go
and
ahead.
it's like that's the place where we do the energy work,
Okay.
because you're basically becoming the light
Yep.
inside, right? And you start at the heart, and then what I do is I glow the light. You increase it. You use your willpower, because in this other world, these other dimensions, the consciousness is the creator, and we are that consciousness.
Right.
So when you're using your willpower, you can make that light what you're imagining. You're creating that light at the heart. You make it start glowing until you vision the whole inside of yourself
Yeah.
as just a light beam, right? It's like
Right.
you filled up your whole interior with this light that's coming from the heart. Then you can even magnify the light more to fill up your aura. Right? So now so that's the kind of the state I get to in a meditation. So everything is a void outside of my aura.
Okay.
And it's almost like me sitting there in this little energy cocoon as a light being in a void. And I'm tethered. I tether off to energy above.
Okay.
I have to be honest. I've never done that. I know you have.
Oh yeah, meditating.
I've never done that. I want to try it.
I meditated once to the point where I was almost in a Japanese garden. So I mean, I don't know how I did it, but you know, and the thing is, when you're meditating, Joseph, do you feel almost like you're leaving your body, but essentially
what
you're
is
not?
that like? Yeah.
You're within the body.
Yep.
But you can actually astral travel.
Yeah.
So how I'm saying, like, you can take this focus in front of you and create a ball and bring that ball to within. Well, now your focus is within at the heart. Well, you can release that focus from your body and allow it to travel.
Wow. Well, have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I tried it just to try it once. And it's like I wanted to get away from the world. And I traveled somewhere just out in space.
You're kidding.
And it's almost like I was just in the void of space, just able to kind of look around and observe everything. But I mean, you're not seeing it with your eyes, obviously. You're seeing it in this energetic world.
Yeah,
reality.
Yep. So,
nonetheless amazing. I mean,
have you ever explored in your meditation the library?
The library.
The Akashic records?
Yep, where you can actually go and you can find out what your own record is and what your purpose is in life.
No, I've always had an interest in that.
Okay.
And at first, in my first investigations, because I wasn't aware of any of this before it happened to me, and as it was happening to me, I was trying to find out what the hell is happening to me.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I started searching, and I found a lot of similarities in near-death experiences.
Yep.
And what was being said with the near-death experiences, because they're feeling that warmth and that welcoming and that feeling of bliss, and they're claiming to talk to like other souls and stuff like this.
Right.
So I was kind of relating to it, but I was like, well, it's still different than what I'm experiencing. Right? So I just kept searching and searching. The closest thing I found was a professor named Todd Murphy. He was given a lecture on enlightenment.
Okay.
And when he said, when a person hits the point of enlightenment, oftentimes they hear voices and they receive downloads of information. He said, and they get this overwhelming feeling of love and like a blissfulness, a euphoric feeling. And as he was describing it, and he was talking about the shifting that happens in the brain, like he was getting into the medical science of it, I was realizing, listening to that, it's like, that's what I'm experiencing. That's exactly what happened to me. The downloads, the feeling, the communications. And so, I don't know. To me, like I say, I did a lot of soul searching.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I can imagine.
But I want to get into that. I just want to say for the last... so when I say I stopped communicating with the beings after they scared me...
Yeah.
They came at another time, and this was, again, at random. And this is kind of going back to what you were asking last week, Jennifer, when you were saying, did they ever try to contact me without me, right? So when they came that night in my yard, or I think it was them, now a similar thing happened with my brother who's seen them with me. So he lives in another town on a farm. And I was out to his place, and this was probably a year after I had stopped talking to them because it just freaked me out. But I kind of warmed up to it, but I just didn't engage in it anymore.
Right.
And one night we were standing out in his yard, and it was a nice, clear night. You know, we're seeing the stars and everything. And I just made a joke. I said, "Oh, I wonder if our friends are around." Well, he got all serious. He's like, "Well, let's try it. Let's see." We went into the meditation again together. We looked up, and probably within a minute, boom, a big flash right where we were both looking. We both pointed at the same time. We were like, "Whoa, did you see it? It's right there." And my brother's like, "Wow, that is cool." Now, without asking them to flash, this was the topper for me.
Right.
The craft lit up. Now, you figure it's up in space.
Yeah.
But for being that far away, it lit up. It moved downwards about an inch, and then it took off diagonally to the right, up and to the right. So it was like it moved at such a speed, it left a light check mark up in the sky.
Oh, wow.
And up at the top of the right, it kind of skipped away, like just
like a pulse engine, perhaps.
Yes, almost. Well, more like a rock skipping. Like the check mark was solid, but then it tapered away, and it just kind of, like it was so fast, like unbelievable. When you see these things move that fast.
So,
and,
like, it was letting you know that it was still here.
Oh yeah, they were still there. So the next experience, and this was my absolute last experience with them. And again, it freaked me out, not so much, but it was my brother.
Okay.
And again, we were at his farm on a different night, and we were playing darts. We like to play darts.
Right.
And we were taking a break, and we were sitting at his kitchen table, and the power went off. But when it did, I felt this electromagnetic pulse, or I assume that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it was this energy burst, and I felt it actually hit my chest and just go right through me.
Wow.
And the lights went out. And when the lights went out, my first thought was, they're here.
Yeah.
Why I thought that, I don't know. But I just had that feeling come over me.
Right.
You have that connection. You know it. Yeah.
Well, my brother's like, "What's going on?" So I got up and I walked out the door. I looked up to the neighbor's house about 300 yards away, and they still had power. And I'm looking out towards the road, and I could see the glow from the street light. So I told him, I said, "Oh, it just seems like it's your house." Then all of a sudden, the lights came on, but they were like half power.
Huh.
Like
Weird.
dim. Yeah, and we're sitting there in this dimness, and now I'm getting that time-stopping feeling, that eerie feeling again.
Yep.
So I kind of look over at my brother, and he's kind of like really puzzled. But I mentioned to him, I said, "Don't freak out. I think they're here to see us." As soon as I said that, he looks at me, he goes, "You know what? When the lights went out, that was the first thought that came to my mind." He goes, "I don't know why, but that was my first thought." So we both had this same thought. My brother, he was like panicking. Me, I was kind of okay with it the second time.
Well, right,
I'm
yeah.
Like, I'm kind of being more on guard, but I'm like, I could tell like there was one right outside the window where we were sitting.
Oh
and there was one on the other side of his house. There was one outside of his house at another window. And I could sense, like, this is where they were. I could feel them scanning me again. The power went back out, so we're in the dark again. We're using our cell phone flashlight.
Yeah, flashlight in the car, yeah.
And my brother, he's like, "Dude, like, this guy is scared, man. He's getting up. He's, like, closing the storm door, and he's pacing back and forth." I'm like,
I can imagine.
Bro, just calm down, man.
Right.
I'm like, dude, if they wanted to come in, we can't stop them, right? Like, just relax.
Did you actually?
Brave. He's like,
did you actually see that? You didn't see them at this point. You just knew they were there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could sense them, and I could actually sense where they were. Like I was connecting with them.
Okay,
Because,
gotcha.
and I think this time, I think this time is because I stayed more calm. My brother was freaking out. And, you know, we're having this experience. The lights came back on again, half mass again. And my brother, he says, well, let's go up to the other house. There's a generator up there. We can at least run a lamp. So I said, okay, let's go. He goes in the other room. He comes out loading a rifle.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was my intuition or if it was them telling me, but they were saying, that I just had this knowing, don't leave this house with him with that gun. For whatever reason,
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, so he's walking out to his van. He's like, let's go. And I stopped at the door. I said, where are you going with the gun? Like, put the gun away.
Yeah.
He's going, well, there might be coyotes up there or something. I know it's because he's scared, right? And I'm telling him, I'm going, look, they might take that as a sign of aggression. Like, just put the gun away.
Absolutely.
And he's telling me, he's going, oh, don't be so crazy and this and that. Let's go. He jumps in his van. He started his van. I told him, I said, you go get it by yourself. I'm not. My intuition was too demanding.
Yeah, not going to be a part of it.
I had to follow. Yeah, so I stayed in the door. He started the van. He went to do a U-turn across his lawn. And as he was moving the van, the lights and power and everything came back on. That creepy feeling left. He ended up doing like a full circle in his van and just reparked it and came in. And he was like, wow, that was weird. You know, I was kind of trying to get his head around it and stuff. But it seems like I was okay the second time, but he was kind of freaked out. And then that was kind of my very last experience with them, like as the experience itself.
Wow, that is just that is outstanding. I can't wait to hear more of this. See, we're up against the break right now. We're gonna have NTR new music right now at the top of the hour break, and then when we come back, we're gonna dive right back into this. Okay?
Sure, because like something I'll point out before we jump into the new music.
Yeah.
For me, it's not about the experience. Right? And I want to kind of stress that to people, is that it's really not about the experience. And that's not why I'm on here to share the experience.
Right.
But it's the insights and stuff that I want to talk about afterwards from the experience.
Exactly.
Right? To me, that's the important part.
What,
you know what I mean?
What you've gathered, what you've taken from the whole experience, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'd like to be able to get into some of that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are multiple things that I'd love to get into with you. So, yeah, we'll jump right into that when we come back. I'll put you on a brief hold, and we'll be right back shortly with you, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, friend. All right. So that was Joe Chase, and we are going in to NTR New Music now. We have some brand new artists from Great Britain tonight. And they've got a song called All That Glitters. Let's check them out. Let's see how good they are. And then after that, we'll be right back with Joe Chase talking about his incredible experiences and what he's taken from them. He wants you to learn. I want you to learn. We're going to figure this out together, folks. NTR New Music Now, coming up next.
Bathing in the light that you share. You're like the sun. Who am I to think how it'd be if you were mine? I've been walking with my shades on for so long. I can't seem to get them back on. 'Cause ooh, how I fell in love. Couldn't see it coming, blasting my stereo. I can feel it coming, you on my radio. All I'm hearing is a song.
The Hour 1 break is upon us, which can mean only one thing. It's new music time. on NTR New Music Now. Tonight we have a great duo from the United Kingdom, and here they are.
Hey everybody, this is Emma and Jolie. We're excited to be your NTR New Music Now artists on this awesome Saturday night. We hope you all enjoy.
And don't forget, hour 2 of Night Talks Radio with Joe Chase is coming up right after. Have a great night, everyone.
Straight from the UK, All That Glitters is coming up next on NTR New Music Now. And hey, if you like the song, drop us a line. Let us know here at NTR. And we'll pass it along to tonight's NTR New Music Now guests. All right, folks, I've talked enough. Here is All That Glitters on NTR New Music Now.
All my friends think I'm at home. I even changed my Snapchat and put it on ghost mode. And I hate to lie, run away and hide. I know exactly what they say, but I'm addicted to the hype. And it's just no good for me. And I'll probably be crying by the end of the week. I know all that glitters isn't gold, but he's so pretty. He's just so damn cool. My heart grows weaker, even with just one hope. But I know all that glitters isn't gold. Rose glasses on, and I hate myself for thinking I might be the one when he's been texting someone else, and then he tries to change my mind. It's not that hard, 'cause I'm already on my way to his tonight. And it's just no good for me, and I'll probably be crying by the end of the week. I know all that glitters isn't gold, but he's so pretty. He's just so damn cool. My heart grows weaker, even with just one note. But I know all that glitters isn't gold. Yeah, he might be just a sparkling pyrite, but he's treasuring my tinted world of blind eyes. And I thought that I put all that stuff behind me, but oh my god, he's just so damn shiny. All that glitters isn't gold, but he's so pretty. He's just so damn cool. My heart grows weaker, even with just one note. But I know all that glitters isn't gold. Yeah, I know all that glitters isn't gold, but he's so pretty. He's just so damn cool. My heart grows weaker, even with just one note. But I know all that glitters isn't gold.
For more on Emma and Jolie from the UK, check out NTR Facebook for more information. With all that said, this has been another edition of NTR New Music Now.
Want to reach Night Talks Radio? That's easy. Simply dial 1-507-384-9390. Or, for first-time callers, just dial 1-507-307-4424. From somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Night Talks Radio.
Coming to you from Red Lake Falls, Minnesota, otherwise known as the Great Upper Midwest. And we have a wonderful show for you once again, featuring Joe Chase. This is part two from last week's show, which was on Saturday. Joe is telling us all about his experiences, his journey, and everything in between. And he would like the audience to know exactly what he's talking about and to know what he wants them to know about. So, without further ado, Joe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here, brother.
All right, my friend. So, we left off with a few things, but I'd like you to continue with what you were wanting to talk about. Very intriguing to me, so.
Well, what this did and how it changed my whole perception of reality. The first thing I think people should understand is we're all perceiving the same reality, but we're not all having the same experience.
Right.
And between the physical and the metaphysical world, it's like there's a wall there. And at that wall is where belief is. So I'll give you an example of how perception changes from each individual's own experience. So if you have a person with absolutely no interest in the paranormal, they just don't believe it. One of my brothers is actually like that.
Okay.
And he actually said to me before, he says, listen, I think we're all just chunks of meat, and we're here, we live, we die, and that's it.
Right.
There's nothing more, right? I can respect that. That's his perception of reality.
His perception, his opinion, yeah.
So then you have other people who are interested in the phenomenon, but they have no experience, like no physical experience.
Right.
Right? Well, this group of people are going to believe more than the previous group. They're at the point of saying, well, I've looked at enough stuff, and I've read enough stuff, and I've heard enough stuff. It's got my interest enough. I believe there's something there. Right? So they're at a next level of understanding. The next group, you could say, like, what if people who's just, they've seen something in the sky. They can't explain it, but they've only had like a single experience.
Yes.
They're now believing a little more because they've actually seen something, but they can still be in this realm of questioning their own what they've seen.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Their own perception. They're still questioning it. Now you can get into a next level, which are people who have had multiple sightings. Now, for these people, they're kind of going into a state of trying to understand it. Rather, like, the belief part is gone.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They no longer have the choice of saying, I don't believe it anymore. Right? They've seen it now multiple times. So they're on a point of saying, okay, this is real. Like, I know it's real.
Yeah, that's.
Why
I mean, that's.
why is it happening?
It's similar to how I am. I mean, a little more advanced, but that's how I am. I no longer am like, are they out there? Are things out there? Is these type of things happening in other dimensions? Blah blah blah. I know there is.
Yeah, but the
it's just you can't. I can't explain it to you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Never had anything happen to you.
Well, of course I have. The fire extinguishers. The fire alarms going off at 4 a.m. without batteries in them.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing that doesn't happen normally.
No,
so it's like I said, I agree with you. I totally understand. So what would the next level be?
The next level would be like me. So somebody who has had these telepathic communications, and this is, again, we can relate this to the Bible, to the Gospels,
Correct.
of people who were receiving the voice of angels, having visions, this kind of stuff. But in modern times, so for me, it's like I am so far past the point of belief, I'm into a state of kind of understanding it.
Okay.
And I was given information for me to be able to understand it. Now, there's still a next level beyond that, which are people who are abductees, who have actually met these beings face to face.
Yep.
They've been on the craft. For them, they're living in a whole different reality state of mind.
Yep.
So there's all these different levels, and the whole experience was very humbling to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it opened my mind so that now when I hear people talking about stuff, I don't close the door so quickly.
Oh, okay.
Because I know there are things there that we're just starting as a species to start to dial into or start to tune into these other realities.
Right.
Exactly.
And I don't think that we really know so much about ourselves neither, I mean, yeah, we know that we're human, we're in this body and stuff, but we don't know a whole lot about the background, how humans started on Earth or anything like that, so we're still learning too.
It's a giant cavalcade of a mess, to be honest with you. I mean, we don't understand ourselves, like you said,
right.
and so you get to that point where you actually have an understanding of the human race, the human mind, and the soul and things like that. And then you can move on to attempting to understand, otherworldly beings or the universe or whatever have you. But that's just my opinion, of course. But
right. So, Joseph, when you are having these visions and they are communicating with you, have they at one point told you why they do hybrids?
Upgrades.
Upgrades.
If you okay, so if we go off the gospel,
Okay.
right? I'll just speak from the gospel's perception here, because I've said before, I perceive the gospel very differently.
Okay.
Adam and Eve had two offsprings that lived. One was Cain and one was Seth.
Yeah.
Right? And Cain killed Abel.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you read the gospel a certain way, well, it was the serpent that impregnated Eve with Cain, which would set a different DNA into the creation, right? And it was through that this is where humans gained the knowledge to do wrong.
Right.
Further somewhere in the gospel, it actually makes mention of Cain again, and it says Cain, the son of that wicked one, right? And even at the beginning with Adam and Eve, it talks about God wanting to put amnesty between her seed and his seed, being the serpent, right? So there was something that went on there that created Cain. And then even after Cain was born, Eve made a statement. She said, "The Lord blessed me with a man." Well, kind of a strange thing to say. After the birth of Abel, she doesn't say anything. But then after the birth of Seth, she makes the statement, and she says, "God has blessed me with another seed to replace Abel that Cain killed." So it's God that replaced another seed into Seth. So if you look at it, you can look and say, well, there was two separate DNAs injected into the human species at this point.
Yeah.
You have this serpent one of a negative, and then you have Seth, and the lineage of Seth goes down to Jesus, and these were all the blessed ones. Now, when you follow that narrative, right? When you follow that narrative and you put these beings as being physical beings, they were putting these Hebrews into wars and stuff with their help. Right? Like, there's a totally different story going on there. If you read the gospel from the lineage of Cain, it goes down to this guy named Lamech. I think he was like the 6th generation from Cain.
Okay.
And Lamech has 2 wives, and Lamech pulls his 2 wives together and says, okay, well, you know, if anybody hurts Cain, God will punish them 7-fold. He says, well, I, Lamech, have killed 2 men. So surely God would punish anybody who hurts Lamech 70 and 7-fold.
Right.
Right.
And you don't really hear too much of the lineager from Cain.
No,
but you realize
sure don't.
this was a whole lineager. But think about the mentality that this family is starting off with. If we do bad, God blesses us. We get God's protection for doing bad.
Right.
Right? And so I look at it as there's 2 DNA going on. So God protected the one DNA right down to Abraham, to the 12 tribes of Abraham, to make sure that DNA spreads out throughout the world. Right? And then when you hear things about abductions that have been going on forever, well, are these not some type of DNA upgrades to the species?
Right,
Wow.
right. That is very interesting. So here's another thing. Okay, so when the person is abducted, a lot of times they will have like a mark or something like that on them. You know, the women will have marks, the men will have marks and stuff.
It's usually 3 dots.
Yeah, 3 dots normally in like a triangle. But
What did you just say?
it's normally
What did
What
did you just say, Daniel?
It's normally, from what I've my research has done, is that it's been 3 dots somewhere on their body in a triangle type shape.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you about myself.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I have these things on my left side,
Oh my gosh.
on my lower rib cage, and they're in a line, but there's like 3 little bumps, one on one rib, and one on the next, and one on the next. There's 3 of them, but they're in a line, and they're actually tender to touch them.
Okay.
Like when I touch it, it almost feels like a bruise. I had actually went to a doctor years ago to have these looked at, and it was a dermatologist, and she just said, well, it could be just a little fat cyst or anything. She's like, let's just monitor them.
Yeah.
And I went I went back 6 months later, and she measured them, and she said, well, they're not getting any bigger. Like, just leave them. They're not hurting you, right?
Yes.
Now, something that I've noticed about these things is, remember before I said I felt like I was being summoned into this energy grid.
Yeah.
And I was helping with these large amounts of energy. When those energies were going through me, I could feel those 3 little things almost like they were flickering. Like if you were to touch your ribs and just kind of flick it with your fingers.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of what it felt like. And I did feel a sensation from those things. That's very weird.
Okay.
Wow,
so
you'll
let
have
me
to research
let
a little
me
bit
no,
more
well
on that.
I
Yeah,
can
that's-
tell him right now. So I said, most are in triangle
yeah,
shapes. Okay. Others tend to be in line,
Yeah.
or some form of say like a zigzag type way. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, most are triangle shaped, but it is not rare or uncommon for what he is describing to have on their body as well. People that range from being abducted or are able to communicate, or had some communication with outer worldly, individuals, whatever have you. I have heard that it is only for that purpose. Summoning, communication, things of that nature. I have not heard anything bad stemming from them. Now, of course, you could do your own research as well. You obviously don't have to take my word for it. You can do your own research, but that is what I have learned in research, and I've actually spoken, and I'm friends with several people that I'll have to send you pictures that have sent me pictures of these odd markings all around their body in different places on these individuals.
Yep.
Wow.
So, Joseph, were you shown anything about what the beans maybe are doing to these people on the crafts, or if maybe they're putting in like a monitoring device or something like that?
No, not really.
Oh,
I
okay.
never really inquired too much about abductions and stuff.
Okay.
Here's the other thing, real quick, Joe, is that we just spoke about the dots. A lot of people that I've spoken to as well had suggested that not only is that, say, like a communication device or able to summon them and things like that, but is also a tracker of sorts to know where you're at. Whatever is underneath your skin or in that area, or what those dots may be made of, for example, can trace your location as if it was a super duper GPS. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I want you to look that up. I'm going to send you pictures and some articles. I want you to look that up, because if you have that on your body, that's very, very significant, and I want you to look that up and learn about that.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. I was thinking about going and trying to get them x-rayed or something, but then I don't know. I'm not really too much interested in it, to be honest. I'm just like,
yeah, it's not from what I've heard, 90% of it's not going to hurt you. There's nothing wrong with it. As if you're not going to get radiation, you're not going to get cancer, you're not going to get none of that type of stuff. And normally, kind of like you've spoken of, you don't even think about it or whatever. But you said you felt a certain sensation when they were trying to communicate or summon you or whatever have you. That is their sort of. It's kind of like Star Trek. Star Trek has their little, of course, Enterprise symbol that they touch to communicate and whatnot. It's almost something like that. Obviously, you're not touching it, but that is the way that it is meant to communicate without you touching. You're communicating with them. A form of ESP, a form of telepathy that you are able to do now that you've been in contact and now that you have these markings on your body. Just very interesting and intriguing stuff.
Yeah, another very interesting observation that I made one time during meditation, something started happening physically. And it happens at the back of my head.
Okay.
And when I'm channeling energies, it's like I'm feeling the back of my head, like something at the back of my brain moving.
What?
Some type of a sensation. And I can actually hear like an audible, almost like a squishing sound, like almost like blood pumping through my system or something. Like I can hear this squish, 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 squish.
Okay, so
I'm feeling this.
So you're hearing this through your ears, or you're actually.
Like
go ahead.
It's kind of like right behind my ears, on both sides of my head. It's like something started working in there. Like I've never felt this before.
So, if you now for our listeners, obviously this isn't a television show, but for our listeners, would you describe it as if there was something in your head in those locations, or just a feeling that you had?
No, just a feeling.
Okay.
But it almost seems as though it almost seems like a part of me was unlocked that was dormant before.
Really?
It's almost like a part of my brain started working that I've never felt it working before. and it's like surging it's like surging the energy as the energy's going through me.
Yeah.
These two spots, like one on, like right behind the ears, right? And I feel them kind of pulsating, and I can kind of hear the pulsating. It's hard to.
When does this happen to you?
Like a vibration?
Well, it still happens to me now. Every time I meditate now, when I get into a good meditation, I start hearing this squish, 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 and I feel that in the back of my head.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. And that is, I want to look that up. I want to research
so,
that.
So kind of like a vibration in a way?
It more actually seems almost like if your heart was pumping blood, and you could hear the blood.
Yeah,
you could hear
okay.
Say like when you're upside down, hanging upside down, and your blood rushes to your head, and you can hear your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that type of a sensation.
Yeah, now I get it. Now I get it.
Type of sensation.
What it sounds to me is that you have opened, like I said before, your third eye, and you have channeled your spirit guide, and your spirit guide is trying to communicate with you, because when we hear spirit guides, we cannot hear them as regular language and stuff, so it's all like mumbled, like you'll hear a or something like that, or else you'll feel like a vibration or something in your ear and stuff. So to me, what's going on is you've not only communicated with the ETs, you've also communicated with your spirit guide.
I don't know.
Well, that gets into the next part of the conversation, which is this like one of the things that I've gained from this experience was self-awareness.
Okay.
Self-awareness.
Because one thing that it really made me ask myself is, what am I?
Right.
Right? What the heck am I? And I started really analyzing the self. And this is what I concluded. And again, this wasn't just from me, but they were kind of guiding me and assisting me in seeing what I am.
Okay.
So when I say, like, what am I? The first thing I can say is, okay, I'm a body. I'm a human, right? And I have this physical body. Well, what is this physical body? Really, it's just composites of energy, different densities, formed in a biological machine, forming of biological matter that creates this machine, this body.
Okay.
So then it's like, well, what is the body for?
Right.
Right. What's the purpose of it? What's the purpose of having this body?
To protect the soul.
The body is the machine which allows us to perceive reality.
Okay.
Through the senses of the body, right? The physical senses.
Right.
So we see, and we see, we hear, we smell, we touch, we taste, and all of these senses are feeding electronic pulses up to our brain, and our cognitive brain is what is making sense out of the information from the senses, right? Which is forming our perception.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start digging into it, and I'm like, well, what is a perception? What is it really? And it's basically our observation of the reality.
Right.
And then I started questioning it and saying, well, let me dig into this further, and let's really dive into this. Is that perception correct or incorrect? Right? Am I perceiving reality correctly or incorrectly? The conclusion, the conclusion to it is, each one of us perceives reality. Our perception is 100% correct and accurate for self.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Right. So, like, if I look and I see a chair, I can say, okay, I see the chair.
Yeah.
That's my perception, and to me, I'm seeing a chair. So there's no doubt in my mind that's my perception. It's 100% correct.
Right.
However,
to somebody else,
when I apply this to myself, when I apply it to self, this same understanding has to apply to everybody else. So everybody else's perception is exactly correct to them.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we're all perceiving the same reality, but we're having a unique perception of it. And that perception is correct to self. When we make this realization, we have to realize, well, wait a minute. It's unique to me. It's my perception. So Daniel can't see through my eyes, or Jennifer can't see through my eyes,
Right.
nor can I see through their eyes.
Yep.
Yep.
So your perception is correct to you, and Jennifer's is correct to Jennifer, and Joseph's is correct to Joseph.
Yep.
But they're not the same.
Right.
They're all different.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we'll never be the same as
No.
far as perception. That's 100.
right.
That's accurate.
That's right. This should become like an understanding that we're all perceiving uniquely different.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
problem starts is when we want to compare perceptions with
Yep.
one another,
Yep.
right? They're always going to be different. So why are we comparing them,
Yeah.
right? We need to come to the realization that they are different. And I can conclude, so my conclusion to it was, well, wait a minute. My perception is 100% correct to me, but it's going to be different to everybody else's. So if I compare it to everybody else's,
My gosh, that could apply to so many
I-
things nowadays.
Yeah.
By the way.
right, I am 100% incorrect according to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then I look at the perception and I say, well, is it correct or incorrect? Well, it is correct and incorrect simultaneously,
Right. Right.
which makes it null and void. It's non-valid. So then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Is that all life is a perception?
And
I'm like, no, wait a minute.
It's like the dead theory.
Yeah.
You're always alive and you're always dead. You know.
Yeah.
That is something I want you to also research too. Is
That's
the dead
strange,
theory?
yeah.
Very interesting. I think a person like you, Joe, who is quite similar to me and Jennifer, I think you would find that rather interesting. Again, it's called the dead theory, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, perception, yes, it will never be the same to any one single person. It is always different. That is why it applies to what's happening, say, in the country now, for example, or North America, Canada.
Right.
It can be applied to everything because
Yeah.
one person sees one thing and says this is correct, and the other person says no, that's absolutely not correct. And guess what? You have division. So
Yep.
you know
Exactly.
it's
That's right.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
yep.
So when I continued asking these questions, I'm like, well, is that all life is? It's just an invalid perception.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, and because of my experience, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Where does telepathy play in this perception?
Right. Right.
Where does receiving these visions play in my perception of the physical senses? So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not just the physical body, and I'm not just the perception.
Right.
So, what that comes down to, and to quote Jesus, right? I am the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes.
Yep.
I am the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And these beings kind of helped me with this because they kind of allowed me to remember birth.
Okay.
And to explain this, so while we're in the womb, these other dimensions enter into and begin fusing with the physical body. But it's when we're born, we're still tethered to the mother. But
Yeah.
it's as soon as that umbilical cord is cut,
Yep.
that's the point that we become a sovereign biological being with our own consciousness.
Yep.
But so at this point, we're alive, we're living, right? We have a soul at that point.
Yeah.
But the eyes haven't opened yet. The ears haven't heard anything yet. The perception of reality has not yet begun,
Correct.
right? So I I am the alpha. I am the life before the perception. And when the body dies and the perception ends, I am still that life, that spirit that continues beyond. So I am the beginning and the end.
Yep.
I'm not the in-between. I'm not the body, nor am I the perception of the body.
Well,
I'm more than that.
It's it's the same thing with time as a human construct as well. There is. I mean, you're in the present, past, and future right now.
Yeah.
For example, there's so many off branches of what Joe is speaking about. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Well, it's almost like we're in a shield.
Okay, that's okay. Interject wherever you want to interject, brother. This is just about sharing and sharing our perceptions.
Right.
That's what
I appreciate that, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Joseph, it's almost like we're in a shield, basically. Like our body is shielding our spirit.
Okay. Yes. So let me explain it this way. I'll talk about dimensions for a minute.
Okay.
And let's talk about source.
Right.
Right? So never mind God, because to me the word God is representing these physical beings.
Right.
Let's talk for a minute about source.
Okay.
Where is all of this energy coming from? So
Are you there? Joe? Oh, I think we dropped Joe again. We'll have to hold
Joe
on
again.
just a few minutes here.
And there's
there
Joe again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Joe.
Sorry about that. My phone keeps turning off like that.
It's okay. Go ahead, brother.
I'm wondering if it has a timer on the call or something.
Who knows? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I told you or not, but a couple months ago we had a caller that was describing what was it to children? He had EVPs.
Yeah, EVP with children. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. Ever since when he went to play a few of them, he got cut off, and every time he went to play another EVP, he was cut off. And ever since, it seems like the phone calls wants to be cut off when you are speaking about a certain something.
Yeah, because like when I was trying to get a hold of the tarot reader, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to get a hold of the tarot reader, and we were talking and everything about her coming on the show, and we were talking about some things, in the future and everything, and all of a sudden it cut off, and she wasn't there anymore. And we tried calling her back several times. Now, these are on our own phones. This isn't on our computer device or anything. So it's almost like something just doesn't want us to talk about things.
Well, you see, you mentioned it earlier, Joe. I mean, we're at the point where it's like, oh, okay. I'm not weirded out by it. I'm not. It's just like, to me, it's something. Somebody doesn't want, perhaps, what was going to be said at that very moment. So,
well, it's actually funny. Last week there was complications again.
Yeah,
with the rescheduling, and then at the beginning, I was in contact to a friend of mine. She's just an online friend down in South Carolina. This beautiful soul named Melissa.
Okay.
And I was talking to her, and I had mentioned these setbacks, and I said it almost seems like there's a higher negative source that doesn't want this to happen. And she goes, absolutely there is, because of what you're going to talk about. And she goes, of course there's dark forces that do not want this coming into the light.
They don't want people to know about this. They don't want people to know about this whatsoever.
Yep, exactly.
What me, you, and Jennifer are talking about, they don't want. They absolutely no.
No.
No, because you cannot control consciousness.
No.
You can control the cognitive mind by controlling perception, which is what we're seeing in the world. Like, my views on the world right now, I see their game, and I'm sure you guys know who I'm referring to when I say they. I see the game, how they play it. I see how they manipulate it. It's a hijacking of consciousness. It's a hijacking of perception.
It's amazing how you know instantaneously too. When you get so good at it, you can simply it right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
Well, it's like indoctrination. That's what it is. I mean.
Well,
that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to get
socialism.
us.
I'm not sure if
they're trying to get us to believe in one thing, and they're trying to get us to go with their path, and that's why I think Illuminati. I think the Illuminati has a lot to do with what is going on in the world today, and I'm going to do a report on that soon.
The Illuminati, May 1st, 1776. Is when supposedly the Illuminati began. I obviously I don't have any physical proof, or I don't have any video or audio proof of such things, but there is something behind a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go that direction for a moment there, Jennifer.
Yeah, they needed to hide. The Illuminati needed to hide themselves here in America because they got kicked out of England. So George Washington was the first one that came into an alert about the Illuminati coming over here, and he's like, no way, this isn't going to happen, and he tried to keep them out as much as he could, but somehow they got back in here. And here's the thing is that when the Illuminati came here to America, they needed a place to kind of hide out and stuff because, obviously George Washington knew what was going on. So they went underneath.
So George Washington caused all this?
No, George Washington wanted them out of the U.S. He didn't want them to
I'm
come
messing
in.
With you.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
So they used actually the Freemasons.
Yes,
Freemasons. They used them, and now if you think about it, they're everywhere. They're in our children's hospitals. They're in the medical fields. They're everywhere. Freemasons
I'll say this.
So they needed someone who could carry their power.
I'll say this, I'll say very quickly is that you are right in certain ways. Yep. Okay, I'll just put it that way. You're absolutely right in certain ways.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, it's
what
scary.
Do you? Yeah. Let's. Besides going after George Washington, what do you think about all this?
Well, you're bang on. These secret societies, they learned a long time ago the power of controlling perception.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you don't. When you start understanding everything is manifesting from frequencies,
correct.
There's a very large, huge amount of energy from human beings, and there's 7.5 billion of it.
Oh yeah, we generate
so
power like crazy.
Right. So if you can control perception, you can create a lower vibration of existence, a fear-based existence.
Right.
Right? These secret societies, they figured this out a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out to take over the world, we don't need a big army, and we don't have to kill people. We have to slowly adjust their perceptions of reality.
Yes,
to get them to behave how we want them to behave.
It can literally take generations upon generations, but they can reach their goal by doing what you're saying, these subtle changes, indoctrinations, things of that nature.
Exactly.
It's funny because communist Soviet Union at the time, years and years ago. There was a former KGB agent who saw what was happening in the United States, for example, and said that not even the KGB could do as good as America was doing in terms of turning people towards communism and socialism and things of that nature.
Right.
So there are elites without question. There you can call them the Illuminati or Freemasons and this and that. But there are people that are in high places, people you may not even know about, that really control the pace of the planet. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's just put it this way. The ones that you're seeing in the spotlight, they're not the puppeteers.
No,
they're still puppets.
Right, exactly. You'll never find out. Go ahead.
The puppeteers are still the puppeteers. They're still hiding behind the curtain.
That's correct.
Right? They're
That's
not
absolutely correct.
They're not in the public view.
No.
And you have to wonder. A lot of these secret societies, these are actually satanic cults.
Yep.
That's correct.
Right? And when we go back to what I was saying about the bloodline of Cain, we have to open our minds to the possibility, are these people being guided by negative beings?
Yep.
And is that how they've gained their knowledge to learn how to control the human population? And you know, I look at it and say, well, right now is an important time in human history because from my experience, I would say there's good beings that are intervening and they're giving us good information.
Right.
Right. And we're going to turn this world upside down. We're going to bring the light. That's what we're here for. That's
now, Joe.
You know,
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Well, go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, I was just going to say, last time you were talking about the collective consciousness. Can you touch base a little bit on that?
Sure. So first, let me explain, because it's really a bunch of things combined.
Okay.
So to get a kind of an understanding of it and how it relates to us, let me go back to what I was saying about dimensions and with source. So all of reality that we're seeing, everything, it's stacked in multiple dimensions that are all coexisting in the same space.
Okay.
The dimensions are separated by frequency.
Right.
So if I were to I'm only going to mention 4. Let me say, like, we have this dimension of matter.
Okay.
Right beside us, there are quantum energy fields. So let's just look at it as just like a quantum energy. And then going up into a higher frequency, you get into light energy. And a higher frequency from that is consciousness.
Okay.
So consciousness itself is a dimensional layer. It's in everything, right? We are in it, right? It's in us.
Yeah.
And so if you want to kind of understand how we're perceiving is, so I'll bring this up later on too. Let's for a minute. You know how when we were in school and a teacher would say, "Okay, kids, put on your thinking caps."
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say for try to explain this. Let's put on our kid caps.
Okay.
And let's return to the state we were as children, where we could still imagine and pretend.
Yep.
Right? Just to try to create a visual. So if you were to take 4 dimensions of matter and energy and light and consciousness and put it all together in the same space, so that consciousness is source. All of the dimensions are source.
Okay.
So it's almost like source gains this self-awareness of the dimension of matter.
Yeah.
And source begins to realize, wait a minute, by sending different frequencies through the light and through the quantum fields, I can start creating geometric shapes out of this matter through frequency and through vibration.
Okay.
So imagine at the beginning that source says, this is something new. This is like a sandbox for me. Let me see what I can create out of this physical world by changing the frequency. And so source creates everything, and we're all a part of it. So at some point, though, source says, well, I want to be able to observe the physical world from within the physical world. So source creates biological bodies that are capable of their own self-awareness. So we're the ones having the experience, but it's source that's really doing the observation of our perception.
Okay.
Does that make any sense to you?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it does.
So, like,
Absolutely.
So source is watching reality from within all of us, and it's the same source. That's our connection.
Okay.
Right?
So what happens if our frequency keeps changing?
Well, the changing of frequencies affects the matter, right? And it's sort of like a sound frequency can affect matter.
Okay.
Right? Well, same with vibrational frequencies. And the beauty about us is we are these interdimensional beings. Our bodies are actually these portals for energy through which we can change frequencies.
Right.
So what we're coming into like awareness of is, so for instance, my point of self-awareness, I've moved beyond the point of belief because I've seen certain things and I've experienced certain things.
Yeah.
So now instead of me, when I go back to say, well, what am I? Rather than saying I am a physical body and I'm having a perception and I believe I have a soul, or I believe I have a light body, I believe I have consciousness, I've moved past the part of belief. So now when I'm saying, what am I? Well, I am the physical body having the perception, but I am the quantum fields, and I am the light, and I am the consciousness. And I'm in that self-awareness that I am all of these things.
Right.
Joe, I want you to hold that thought. We're up against a break. Would you mind staying for another third hour?
No problem, brother.
Okay,
no problem,
because
Yeah.
we're past 2 hours again. These shows are wonderful. So,
if you guys can follow what I'm saying about this, we'll start talking about the collective, because the collective involves all of this stuff, right?
I want to do that when we come right back from break. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll continue this conversation. Okay.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we'll be right back with Joe Chase. And what do you think so far? I mean, this is some very interesting stuff.
Very intriguing. I can't wait to find out what he's got to say about the collider. Because you think about it, okay, if we're changing, changing the frequencies, so much in the collider, I mean, what can happen to those dimensions?
Right, exactly. Well, you can ask away in our third hour. Again,
third hour
coming up. So we will take a short break. We'll be right back on Night Talks Radio. It's a Saturday night. We're having some fun talking to Joe Chase. We'll be right back.
Just let that heat of the moment shine on through.
Hit and rewind to feel it. Calling shotgun on the high run. Life is so fun. I never knew the meaning. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Back in the day when I was wildin' out, we were slow riding Main Street with the windows down, hitting all the bars, making our way through town. We were always fighting, looking for love and a fresh start. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Just let that heat of the moment shine on through. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Let it burn on you. Yeah. Let it burn on me. Let it burn on you. Yeah.
Want to reach Night Talks Radio? That's easy. Simply dial 1-507-384-9390. Or, for first-time callers, just dial 1-507-307-4424. From somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Night Talks Radio. Yes, we are once again in hour 3, folks, because there's just so much to discuss with our special guest, Joe Chase, that it simply cannot be fit into a 2-hour program. Jennifer, I would think that you would agree.
Yes, I would definitely agree. I mean, he's got a lot of information and stuff, and he's still got a lot of...
It's not just information. It's intriguing.
It is. It's very intriguing.
You know, especially for people like us. I mean, we do our research. He seems to do his research, and it's just it is so wonderful. You know, like I had mentioned today at the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to the Dollar Tree there. You know, when those people came out to me when I was discussing the program tonight and what we were going to have on, they flocked to me you know, as if I had a McDonald's fry, and you know, and they were a bunch of seagulls. They were like, I need this link immediatly.
Right,
so,
and that was the same thing when I went around and introduced ourselves to the farmhouse marketplace here right across the street here in Valley Falls. The gentleman, you know, his wife, you know, was busy doing her thing and stuff like that, but he was very intrigued about what we were going to talk about and everything. He sat down actually with me, and he told me that he has something weird too, where whenever a person is like heading out, like their life is over and they're heading out, he seems to get contact from them in some way, and he could maybe not even know this person.
Well, that's strange in itself. You didn't mention that to me, but you had mentioned how he had a radio tower which was curious to me.
No, he didn't have the radio tower.
It was a friend of his or
No,
something?
the woman who owns the rights consignment, her dad has the radio tower.
Her
Remember, I went and
father has
stopped
the
at
radio.
2 different places today.
So a potential to, because of this show today,
Yep.
us talking about it so much and promoting it so much on the outside this time, look at all the things that came about.
Oh, yeah.
But anyhow, Joe, are you still there, pal?
Oh yeah, I'm still here, brother.
So okay, let's start right back where we left off.
So the collective consciousness. Then.
Yes.
So let me explain what I kind of understand about a collective.
Okay.
So these beings, like that I'm in contact with, for that race of beings, they have their own collective, which is like their own, let's call it a bubble or cloud of their own energy around them.
Okay.
And through that layer, through those waves, is how they can communicate through telepathy or send each other information instantly. And it's just like a higher form of communication.
Right.
Right.
So when I was communicating with them, I was like tethering onto their energy field, which was allowing them that direct contact with me.
Okay.
So what humans have to do at this point is create our own energy field of that same nature,
Gotcha.
right? Which is the collective consciousness. It's a consciousness of all of us combined. And to do this, you kind of have to look again at the physical world and the metaphysical and realize there's a polarity shift between the two. So what exists in the physical reality, to go into a higher frequency, if that's a low frequency thing, like let's say something of war, then in the other reality, war cannot exist.
Right.
Right? It's the opposite.
Right.
So when you take that understanding and say, okay, well, in the physical world, we've all been taught and indoctrinated that it's all about self,
Yep.
the individual, right? And this is the divisions of mankind. Divide them up, divide them into countries, and in each country, divide them through politics, divide them through religion, divide them through color, divide them through language, just divide, right? Right down until the lowest denominator, which is the individual, the self.
Right.
Right? And then convince them that this is what you are. It's all about the self.
Yeah.
Well, in the metaphysical world, it has to be the exact opposite. So it no longer becomes about the self, but it becomes about all of us.
Correct.
Right? So how do we, it comes to a point of saying, well, how do we move into that space?
Right.
Right? How do we get over that border to move beyond belief?
Especially if
So-
you have people that don't believe.
Well, even for people that don't believe,
yeah.
if enough of us do and create the collective,
Mm-hmm.
We can generate enough energy over in this other space that when we bring that energy through our bodies and change the frequency, that changing of frequency changes the matter in the reality world, in the physical world. The same way how I said Source uses frequency to manipulate matter.
Right.
We can do the same thing, but to do it, we need a lot of us.
Right. We need to come together.
I spoke to Daniel before about this.
Yeah.
I see it kind of like this. If you look at the world as a whole, and look at the world as a brain,
Right.
and on that brain, we have 7.5 billion neurons, each one of us being an individual neuron, right? But we're capable of transmitting more than just the physical senses. We're capable of transmitting these energies, right?
Yep.
So if you have a brain with 7.5 billion neurons, but they are all working as an individual, that's going to be a dysfunctional brain.
Right.
Because the neurons aren't communicating. When we move into the metaphysical space of consciousness, we all come into alignment. And the physical world has nothing to do with this other world. Right? And that's what people have to understand. So it doesn't matter. It's sort of like saying we meditate together. We go into a conscious space together. So how I was saying before about when I meditate, how I picture myself as a pod, like as a being sitting in a pod of energy. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, if we were to start forming the collective, instead of it being a void, there's going to be other pods around the world, and people sitting in this same state. So we're entering into this other conscious state where the existing world of reality no longer exists because we're in our minds here. We're playing with consciousness.
Correct.
So we eliminate the physical. Well, when I eliminate the physical self stays at the door.
Yep.
That means all my beliefs, right? Everything that I have accumulated through life based off of that perception, it's non-invalid over in the metaphysical world. My beliefs doesn't matter anymore. Any books that I've read doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
None of it matters anymore.
Right.
Because I'm entering into a different space. In that different space, what I'm worried about is let's bring energy into us. Let's bring a specific energy in, and let's magnify this energy. And now let me pass it from my pod, right? Let me pass it from my pod to, and sort of like the neurites of a brain, how the neurites are these little, they look like little lightning bolts coming out from the neuron. And they're reaching out and they're feeling. So imagine all of these pods start shooting out these electrical or these energies like a spider web until we find each other, right? Until we find each other, and then we're creating this grid of energy.
Wow.
That's right. So when we're all in there, and let's say I was conducting a meditation, and I said, okay, now change the energy that you're channeling into you to blue. Right? And share this blue energy with everybody. What does doing that have anything to do with our religious beliefs?
Nothing.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely nothing. What does it have to do with what color we are? Nothing. We're using we're using now, we start tapping into the power of our true source of existence, which is our soul body. And nothing of the physical matters in that reality.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So there's ways that we start accumulating energy, and then, like I described out of the pyramids, how the energy went up and, spread out in the atmosphere like the aurora borealis.
Right.
We send our energy up in the same manner, and we create our own energy field.
Oh, okay.
And the more people that join into it, is the more energy that we're creating and passing around to all of us.
Right. That makes sense.
Right?
That makes sense.
Now, when you cross over into the metaphysical, a saying that I have a problem with is when people say seeing is believing.
Yeah.
Right. That is totally false.
And you were saying that last time, too.
Because, so seeing something is confirmation of the belief.
Right.
Right? So in order to do this, basically we have to jump in and just do it. Take a leap of faith. Put on our children caps and say, let's pretend.
Yeah.
Right? Let's pretend. And if I were conducting it, I'd say, okay, well, let's pretend, and this time we're going to pretend what I want to pretend. And we're going to go into this void, and we're going to pretend that we're these energy pods, and we're going to pretend to be moving energy around, right? And we're going to pretend to be doing all this stuff. When does it become real is when people feel the energy surging through them.
Right, right. So
this is where you start getting your confirmation from the metaphysical. You have to jump in there and experience it and see the results of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't stand at the doorway of belief, looking through the doorway into the metaphysical world and say, I want to understand those dimensions.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
The physical perception.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's beyond our physical perception.
It is
right?
hard. It is extremely hard. Yeah.
So when we realize this is what we actually are, right, and we can jump into that. Now, myself, like where my mind is at in all of this is I'm at the point of thinking, is it measurable scientifically? What I'm talking about creating these energy fields. We may be able to actually prove the existence of the metaphysical world, of these other dimensions, through scientific observation.
Quantum
right?
physics
So
computers.
it's like if you were to do controlled groups.
Go ahead.
People meditating, and if they can report, you start monitoring and you start collecting the data. Who's actually feeling something? Are you feeling any sensation? Are you feeling the energy coming through you? And we start collecting this data. When you start changing the size of the control group, so let's say you went from, 10,000 people up to 100,000 people, and the numbers of people reporting still feeling something stay consistent, you can start saying, well, wait a minute, now we're actually collecting data that's observable of people experiencing this, right? So it starts to prove itself. With that, like the way my mind is thinking is there's machines out there that can measure brain waves. We can measure our electromagnetic pulses or our thermal radiation that's coming off our bodies, right? If you were doing a controlled group and you had 10 people around the world hooked up to machines that were monitoring for brain activity, difference of brain waves, difference of thermal radiation and stuff, and we can see that, wait a minute, when we're increasing the number of people in the control group, we can see these numbers increasing in the people hooked up to these machines. Right. And if you keep repeating it and observing it, well, that's science. That's something that's measurable, and it's repeatable, and it's observable.
Yeah. Now, Joseph, is it possible, like, if we were to change these frequencies, that it could destroy some of the dimensions? So, like the collider.
You know what? I've thought about that with this collider, and basically, CERN. They're playing with stuff that they don't understand.
Yeah,
they are.
They really shouldn't be doing that. I mean, basically, they're trying to play God.
And they're
trying to slam particles.
The death theory really started spurring. The death theory actually was started by Albert Einstein, but it really got a swift pickup when CERN was turned on for the first time December 21st of 2012. And the death theory came back into play to where me, you, Jennifer, anybody you associate with, anything that you talk about, whatever people we're actually all dead. And that when they turned CERN on December 21st of 2012, turns out the Mayans were right. They just didn't understand at the time what it was. A black hole was created on Earth by CERN, the Hadron Collider. It killed all of us instantaneously, and we're all laying in a hospital bed right now, dead, thinking nothing but it's like a tape of our memories. And then that would explain away deja vu, when you absolutely know what's going to happen next, is because you had lived through it at one point, and it's your brain glitching, remembering that situation. But the death theory explains that, we all died on December 21st, 2012, because CERN turned into a black hole, and instantaneously we were all gone.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it.
That's interesting. I've never really looked at that.
Oh my gosh,
I would say
it'll blow your mind, some of the stuff these fellows come up with. I'll tell you what.
Yep.
Well, I have one thing I did find interesting was the Mandela effect.
Yes, and they talk about that with the death theory as well.
Happened. Yeah, so like what I could see them doing is causing ripples. I don't know if they could actually destroy a dimension. What could happen, though, very possibly, is if they did something which caused a ripple, which would cause an influx of frequency, it could very well change our perceptions.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
People thinking that, the Monopoly guy had a monocle on his eye, which I swear he did. And I lost a bet because of that. He never wore a monocle on his eye.
And I think maybe
but I bet you right now he did. And then I said it's not true. So why is this happening all of a sudden?
We might get that from like TV, or cartoons, where the rich guy wore it.
I don't want to stray too far off subject.
Build it out, that way too. I don't know. Our mind sees one thing. It's really funny. Our mind sees one thing, and they think that's the way it's going to be all the time. Even if it's just a quick glance.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This only started taking place shortly after 2012, and it's really started to take hold recently, okay?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I don't want to go too far off track, but then I don't ever remember growing up, and, I'm 42 years old now, I don't ever remember growing up hearing about SADS. Sudden adult death syndrome, when you're perfectly...
What we're seeing right now is how I perceive the world right now, because a lot of times I do look at the world as a whole, and what I see is it's a war on consciousness, where what these crazy people are trying to do is they're trying to hijack our perceptions. So in the last few years, I'll just give an example of this, is you don't have to have a crisis to have people react to a crisis. You just have to have them perceive that there's a crisis. You understand? It doesn't have to be real. People just have to think that it's real.
Right.
And this is what's happening with all the chaos that we're seeing in the world right now, is these people that are orchestrating this, they realize that we're waking up and they're in a panic mode, right? Because there's two levels of awakening.
Yep.
Something I wanted to mention is there's a physical awakening.
Fear is the greatest motivator.
That's right. That's the greatest way to control people, is in a state of fear, and then offer a solution to that fear that you created.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. So there's a physical awakening, and this is where people are waking up to. They're seeing more of the truth of their perception of the world. They're seeing the corruption. They're starting to see the light, right? We're all waking up to that in a physical sense. But then there's another group of people who are having these spiritual awakenings. And the spiritual awakening is coming into the realization that we are more than these physical bodies, that we are these light bodies. Right? So, like, I see the next point, the next step is we have to start doing the work. It's like the lessons have been taught, right? The information has been given, the lessons have been taught. It's up to us now to kind of unite the souls and step into this. And use our soul bodies, use our conscious bodies to create a different frequency. And we use that different frequency to alter the matter of reality. It's basically, we take over the matrix.
So, were you seeing any of this in any of your visions with the beings?
Yeah, like they showed me the whole collective. They showed me how we're supposed to create it.
They showed him essentially everything.
So did they help you with like a plan of how to do it?
Well, it's like,
I don't think it's that.
Yeah,
easy.
that's a lot of what the downloads were. But it's one of those things where you can't really explain it. It just has to be done.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it and my understanding is like so the place I'm at in my experience right now is I would love to find people willing to engage in meditations and let's try doing some energy work. Like I'm kind of not really interested in this reality anymore because I've seen something else. And I'm like, I want to explore this. I want to see what our capabilities are, right? I want to see if other people start having these telepathic communications, right? Like, can we start unlocking extrasensory abilities that we all have that have just been dormant?
For example, you got a PS4 and you used it and you've had it and PS5 comes out and you want that now. You want to see what that's all about. PS4 is old. You want to find out about what's happening now with this PS5. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
So one person that I would recommend to get in touch with, and she is on Facebook, is Mazona Shahar. She actually does these types of meditation classes in a way where she gets like all these people in one group or whatever, and they meditate virtually, and stuff like that. But she says the connection that these people have all together is just, it's so powerful. They've gone all the way to the spirit realm, and everything just by doing all of this power connected together.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's very real, but it's also too like I have to throw up a word of caution into that.
Right.
Yes.
Only because like you have to know what you're doing with it. If you're going to start playing with interdimensional energies, but you're not really sure, it's sort of like CERN and slamming particles together. Well, let's just do it and see what happens.
Right.
You could open the gate. When you're opening yourself up to the metaphysical world, like myself, I always make affirmatives, which is I'm open for communication, but only with beings of love and only things of a positive, right? And things that are of low vibration, I affirm it. You're not welcome. When I open my spirit up into the metaphysical world, right? So it's kind of like that. But when you start playing with energies too, like it's fun to play around with it, but know what you're doing with it. Like don't just jump in and say, "Oh well."
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like somebody saying, "Oh, I heard this guy talking about how to drive a car, so I want to jump in the driver's seat and I want to drive it." Oh.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. Like maybe. You know what I mean? Like, because you are going to start producing these large quantum fields of energy,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
you want to learn how to use it to our advantage to shift reality,
Right. Right.
right? That's the focus. What we've got to get into is it's one thing knowing that we can do it, but then it's another thing to know what we can do with it, right? And to use it as a tool.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
the key.
Yep,
That is the
exactly.
key.
Well, Mazzona
Oh,
has
go
actually,
ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
Mazzona has been on a couple of times, and she is amazing, you know, and she actually has
She's
been...
from Australia.
She is from Australia,
Okay.
yes, Brisbane. And she's actually been guided by her guides to do these seminar type things with other people getting together in groups and stuff like that. She's been in contact with the elders and like I said, spirit guides and everything, and they show her, you know, that she has to kind of like, they guide her that she has to do this. She has to get the word out. She has to teach these people how to do this, because everyone inside you, everyone has that opportunity. Everyone can do it. You know?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And I see these groups. Like I know of one like what you're talking about, and they're out of Europe, and they do it out of the UK, and they do these group meditations as well. What the collective is, though, is like getting all these groups to come into one group, into alignment.
Correct.
Right? So that we're generating the most, and to do that, it really comes down to intention. Right? What's the intention of doing it?
Right.
Right? Is it to again, this is where we have to put our ego selves aside, and it's not to have a group that's my group. Right? It's not. That's what I see happening with groups, where it's like, let's see how many followers I can get, and let's see how many I can get in this group.
Right.
Well, when you want to align with intention, as the leader of that group, you've got to be willing to say, okay, let me carry all these people that I've gathered together, and let's go and align with the collective now.
Yep. Yep.
Where and it's a realization that, wait a minute, this isn't my group, and this isn't my followers. I'm just a part of all of this. And it becomes about all of us, and not any individual group or individual person. But it's like you said, we all can do it. Right?
Yeah.
We all have
all
the
within us.
capabilities. Right. So it's really about putting aside that ego self, right? This fictitious self that's made up from perception
Right.
of the physical reality. Let's put that all away, and let's step into something new.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I 100%.
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned that you wanted to, there was a part of the Bible that you wanted to...
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. So I had this queued up.
Okay.
So it's not just a verse or a couple of verses. This is a whole chapter.
No, that's fine. Yep, you go ahead and read and explain as you go. Yep.
So I'll describe it how it's relating to the collective, how we were just talking about it.
Okay.
So
good.
this is Colossians chapter 3.
Okay.
Okay.
So it talks about the rising. Now again, because this is the gospel, and it does talk about the end times.
Yep.
So before I read this, let me just say, I hear a lot of people talking about the new earth, that we're here to create a new earth.
Yeah.
Now, although that's not the message I received, I don't displace it.
Okay.
Right? And I love the idea of it, and because I understand how we could transform the earth with transmuting energy through us and adjusting the frequency.
Yeah.
So I understand how we could create the new earth, which is again through the collective.
Right.
But on the other hand, and I'm going to only mention this because this chapter kind of talks about it. If the plan fails, well, what's the backup plan? And if there is a destruction coming to the earth, out of the revelations of what it talks about there, is there an evacuation plan?
Yes.
Well,
Right.
who would be evacuated
Yeah.
would be those people who are aligning with their souls,
Yep. That's
right?
correct.
In that collective. So it's almost like building the collective could have a dual purpose, to be involved in an evacuation or to be involved in creating the new earth.
Okay.
Or it
Yeah.
could be a combination of both,
Right.
right? I'm open to possibilities, and I say, is the creation of the new earth, is it to get us in alignment so that we're taking up whatever happens on earth happens, and then they put us back here to create the new earth? I don't know.
Right.
I can only talk about the one part that was showed to me, but the whole new earth part, I love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well-
This doesn't talk about the new earth. This talks more about the destruction. So let me read this from a different perspective. It says,
Okay.
"If ye then be risen with Christ," Christ being the Spirit of Christ, not the man. This is speaking of the Spirit of Christ.
Okay.
Now, the Spirit of Christ could be, like I was saying, the collective consciousness of this race of beings, the gods, right?
Yes.
So if ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affections on things above, not on things of the earth. Now that's interesting. So what's above? Set our affection on things above.
Right.
Well, there's UFOs. There's UFOs up there. There's a galactic community up there. And people going through the ascension process, we're going through this disconnection from things on earth. Right?
Yeah.
So it's saying that. It's saying set our affection on things above, not on things of the earth. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. Now that's making reference to what happens in Revelation.
Yes.
And it's saying, you stay on the course that you're on, you are all already dead. But your life is hid with Christ in God. So this is this coming into alignment with one another. Our lives are hid with this. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye appear with him in glory. So the second part of that line, so when Christ, who is our life is referring to the ministry of the saints, the brotherhood of the saints. And they are all guided through the Spirit of Christ. When the Spirit of Christ comes into them, and they are bound by that Spirit to a covenant.
Right.
Which is to speak the gospel. So that's the discernment there, where it's saying, Christ is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
Yeah.
For which things' sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience, in the which ye also walked some time when ye lived in them. So this is like speaking to us directly right now, the people who are awakened. And it's telling us, you were like them before you were awake, right? You were living in them, right? So this, in the which ye also walked some time when ye lived in them. But now put off all of these, anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man and his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. So that's important right there. You have put off the old man and his deeds. This is leaving the ego self. We're putting off that old man and their understanding, and we're taking on the new man, which is that of the soul, right? Being renewed in the knowledge, which is the knowledge of Christ, right? Let me continue here. where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. So, affirming what you just said, Jennifer, about it's about all of us, and we're all in it. And that's what that's saying. It's saying it's all of us, right?
Yes.
It doesn't pertain to a group. And the way it works is God doesn't have chosen people. That's not the way the selection works. God allows us to choose ourselves.
Oh, that's very...
Yeah, that's a different way of looking at
Right?
it.
So listen to the next line.
Okay.
So put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowls of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, and long-suffering. So a couple things to point out there, like what I just said. We choose ourselves. This is electing ourselves. Who's willing to do this? Right? This is known as the elected ones of God. These are the ones who are going to step forward and say, I'm going to elect myself to make this world a better place.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm willing to give up my beliefs. I'm willing to give up my understandings for a higher understanding. I'm willing to elect myself to do this. And then in there, one of the things it says, humbleness of mind. That's the physical mind, right? Humble it.
Right.
Yes.
All the knowledge that we think we have, all of our beliefs, humble it, right? Become humble with it.
Yep.
So forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all of these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. Now, the next line, check this one out, pertaining to so I said it's to create a conscious, like a body of energy, right? That's the collective. It says, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. So, where do we go in the meditation? We go to the heart center.
Right.
That's where it happens. That's where the magic happens. That's where we create the vibration. And it's telling us, let the peace of God rule in your heart. So come to peace with each other in our hearts, right?
Yep.
To the which also ye are called in one body, because we're being called to create this body of consciousness.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching, and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. Right? And it goes on. It talks about giving thanks, talking about, I'm just skipping through the rest.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
down
okay.
at the bottom of this, on number 24, verse 24, it says, knowing that of the Lord, ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for
Okay.
ye serve the Lord Christ. So the people who are the elected ones, right? And it talks about this later on in the Bible, but it talks about how the elected ones are the ones who are dead in Christ who are risen first. Right? So this would be in the event of an evacuation.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, so it's saying there, we receive the inheritance. Well, the inheritance, like I've read the gospel, so what the inheritance is you go onto these ships, they're going to heal you of any ailments, and the reward of the inheritance is a life expectancy, like in the beginning of the Bible, where they lived like 700 and 900 years.
Yep.
And it talks about this. I don't know the exact passages, but it talks about this, and it like things jump out at me when I read this stuff.
Yep.
And the last verse, this is interesting. It says, but he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he has done, and there is no respect of persons. Right? So that's important. No respect of persons. In other words, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a politician, if you're the richest man in the world.
Right.
That character, that's the persona, right? There is no respect of persons. There's no respect of the persona, which are these ego selves that we're supposed to put away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the end of that chapter. But again, now, is that just coincidence that all lines up with this collective consciousness? I mean, it's a different language.
Right.
You know, but it's there. It's talking about, you know, coming in together in spirit, creating one body, right? Putting off our ego selves and taking on these new selves with new understandings.
Yeah. There's
Wow.
This
is very interesting. One thing, Joseph, that I think you should actually look into, and we kind of briefly discussed this before you came on, is look into being a starseed child, because if there is one thing where it's online on YouTube, and I'll get the girl's name and everything for you, but when you look at it and you listen to it and you actually put on the word script and everything, it talks about how you will experience, some people will experience a awakening, and then they'll be able to learn language. You know, they're taught a different language, you know, to perceive things and to spread it throughout, you know, everyone else. They're there to teach that person about, you know, the consciousness and the spiritual world, the source, everything. I mean, she just touched base on everything, and I think that would be really good for you to look into as well.
Well, I'd be interested in looking at that.
There are so many things I want to send you when we're done here that is just going to literally make you think twice about a lot of things. It's quite intriguing, my friend.
Yeah.
Like one thing too, I want to mention, like how you were saying, Jennifer, about the languages.
Yeah.
One thing that how it's changed my perception of reality is I don't try to discredit anybody's perceptions anymore.
Okay.
So when I'm looking like at human origin and stuff like this, I say all things are a piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And I could break it down into like four main categories. You could look at it from a religious perspective and try to find out the answers there, a spiritual perspective, a scientific perspective,
yep,
and now more recently a ufology perspective, which are all valid because it's all perceptions, and it's all perceptions of different people.
Absolutely.
If you want to know the truth of a narrative, you have to be able to weave that narrative through those perceptions.
Yep.
Right? And no perception may line up with it perfectly, like how religion is saying it or how spirituality is saying it, because this is, again, why I don't identify myself as being a part of any group.
Right.
Because, once again, as soon as you commit to a group, you're basically saying, I'm going to agree to believe the beliefs of this group.
Exactly.
Right.
And I find that dangerous to say, I believe in anything, because that is limiting my conscious mind from going to explore anything outside of that set of beliefs.
It's robbing you. It's robbing you of knowledge. It's. Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
You again?
I think we lost him. Oh, no, he's still there.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm still here.
All right. Here's the unfortunate thing, is we have 5 minutes left. So, you know what? I'm going to say it again. I really would like you back on the show. as a matter of fact, wow, look at that. You're running out of time. I've never seen that one before.
Wow.
Look at that. You're
Wow.
running out of time. Okay. You know what? I would like to fit you into a 2-hour segment along with another guest in the near future, either next week or the week after that. Would that be something that you'd be interested in doing?
Sure, absolutely.
It may have to be a Friday, though, because I do have it all booked up now until September.
Well, what I'm thinking is that we can add a third hour because I don't know if you noticed it, but him talking, us discussing these things, us understanding these things, and being able to banter back and forth. It is almost 3 hours now.
Yeah, I know that.
I feel like we literally started talking 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, I would love to have you back on, and we'll have no problem adding a third hour and things of that nature. So, I'm down to 3 minutes here, so I want to say my goodbyes and all that good stuff. Really appreciate your insight. There is much I'm going to look into that you had mentioned. I am going to send you a lot of information that I have spoken about, and it looks like Jennifer is frantically going through her phone trying to find out the information that she wants to send you as well.
Send it over, because I mean, I'm still trying to figure everything out too. Like,
yeah, it's the same here.
You know, I can share my experience. I can share what was given to me during the experience, but I'm still looking for answers as well. Like, I'm still looking to explore this new reality that I'm, slammed down into. So,
Same here. I'm all about the knowledge. I'm like a sponge, man. I want to figure it out, and it seems like we made a real connection here. So I hate to do it, but I got to let you go. So I will be in contact with you. We will make sure this next show comes up and happens, and fairly soon. And like I said, I'll send you that information, and we'll go from there, my friend.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All
I
right,
love you guys, man.
All right, I love you too, man. You have a great night.
Yeah, and peace and love to all the listeners out there. Hope you enjoyed the talk.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
Yep.
I can already tell numbers. Yeah. They absolutely love the first one. I can't imagine what we're going to be looking at right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, so we will talk to you soon. I'll be hitting you up on email and
okay,
and all
good,
that
brother.
stuff. All right, brother. Have a good night, man.
All right, peace.
Oh, wow. So, what did you think about today's conversation? We got 1:45.
Well,
I
thought that was very intriguing, like I had said before. A lot of information that
much information.
Yeah, I mean,
that it's gonna take a lot to research. But I definitely want him back on the show sometime soon.
Right.
And we'll go from there. I am so sorry. You want to say your goodbyes real quick?
Yeah, I had a wonderful night, everyone, and I hope to see you back, or I hope for you to come back and join us tomorrow night as we have Eddie Weaver, who believes that he has found the lost city of Atlantis.
All right, excellent. We'll be posting about that on Night Talks Facebook. All right, so this was a great Night Talks radio, and we will make sure that we will be back on for you.
So, for NTR, the incredible Joe Chase, the magnificent Jennifer Gregerson, Farmhouse Marketplace, Main Street, downtown Red Lake Falls, Wright's Everything Consignment on Main Avenue North, Red Lake Falls, Spreaker.com, the voice of Night Talks Radio, Kevin Robinson, and of course Art Bell, because if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible. And for me, Daniel Brewer, until the next time, stay safe and remember, they are listening. So long, everybody.